Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy So in case you ain't know So, and welcome back to another dope episode of Sports with So coming to you live, y'all. This week, the Heat come up short in the NBA Finals to the Denver Nuggets. The Panthers, they lose in 5 games in the Stanley Cup Finals as well. And the Marlins are on fire as they head into the summer of baseball. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go! Still not over it.
I mean, we're in mourning. You know, South Florida as a whole is currently in a state of mourning.
Yeah, for sure.
You wouldn't be able to tell by my vibrant wardrobe selection today.
No, you are popping, son.
But you know what? I asked myself, what would Grimace do?
Oh, okay.
And he wouldn't cry about his hometown team's, losing. He would just, brush the dirt off his shoulders and, look forward to the next best thing.
Yeah, man. The next best thing is doing this, right? Being on the podcast, being able to talk about it and get it out,
this
right?
This is the next worst thing. Why are we going to relive all this terror?
Nah, man, because you know what? It's kind of like going to therapy, dog, right? And look, we haven't seen each other for a couple of days, right? Although we've been working on the show and all the stuff on the background, we're enjoying the games, doing our research and whatnot, and sharing notes. And dog, I don't know, man. Doing the post-game recaps with Rax, shout out to Rax, man. It definitely helped out a little bit, but I needed a day of processing, and then I feel like I needed this in order to really get everything off my chest after what's happened this season and in the playoffs, right? Because it was a lot.
This is going to be a time to reflect.
Yes. It's a time to reflect for sure, and if you've been living on the rock, the Heat lost in 5 games to the Denver Nuggets. Congratulations to them, winning their first NBA title in 47 years. We know what that feeling is like, right, to win your first title, so it's always special. And, yeah, they ultimately were the better team, right? Their 2 best players were better than our combination of 2 best players, right? And we'll get into that more. But Joker is such an incredible talent, right? What he's able to do on a basketball court for a guy of his size is just ridiculous, and he broke a lot of records out there. Murray as well played really well and made a big difference, hit some big shots, right, in games 4 and 5, especially in game 5 down the stretch. So you don't feel too bad because ultimately you lost to a better team, even though we weren't fully healthy. They were. And Hero probably would have made a difference in scoring for sure, right? How big? That's up for debate, but he definitely would have made a difference. And yeah, you look at the game 3 loss, right? 109-94, and you're like, damn, we didn't even give ourselves a shot in that game. Both of these guys hit us up for a triple-double, which was the first time ever in NBA history, right? Where 2 guys get a triple-double in the same game and they win.
Not to mention that was the first of our home games.
Yeah, and it was a packed house too, dog. And people were there on time, surprisingly. Yep. And to go down in that game like that, where we pretty much got bullied from the get-go, they were able to score in the paint a lot. They out-rebounded us by 25, 58-33, and it was just like, damn, dog, where's the fight, And we didn't have it. Spo emptied the bench with 2 minutes left in that game. Brought in UD. Made him the oldest NBA player to ever play in the finals, overtaking the great and powerful Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, man. So UD's got another record in his record books as he sails off into retirement from basketball. Sucked to have that home game lost.
It was demoralizing, especially after winning game 2 in Denver, where we're as fans, we're looking at it feeling good, going, all right, we got one on the road. It wasn't the first game, but we still got one. And now we're coming back home where we do well, where we have been doing well, where we've been playing, some really good Heat basketball. And they just dogged us. They had their way with us. And then we're thinking, all right, there's no way in hell we go down
twice
2 in a row at home. There's no way. Right, so?
No, there's no way, dog. But then we come out and we're colder than a polar bear's toenails, dog. You know, and that shit was very demoralizing because it's not like the Heat weren't getting opportunities. We were getting a bunch of opportunities. Nobody stepped up. Strus and Vincent combined killed us in both of those games, right? Because both of those guys were off. How do you get production from everybody else? Jimmy was, for whatever reason,
we'll get to him,
not feeling it that day. Bam showed up, right? But even still, he didn't necessarily have his best game. And we lose game 4 with Denver beating us in our own game. They shot 50% from 3, made I think 14 of 28, and we were like in the 25s.
Was it game 4 or game 3 where we only went to the line twice?
It was that was game 2 or game 1.
No, it was one of the losses, and I'm thinking it was either 3 or 4. But now that I think about it, it might have been game 3, and I think we rebounded. If we look at that stat line, I think we did better from the foul line or getting to the foul line in game 4 than we did in game 3. But still, man, it was always, both of these games at home for us, we were never in it. They just kept separating, and we kept closing the gap. And it was exciting because it was like, all right, cool, we're almost there, to tie it up and then hopefully try to take the lead. And we never, ever saw that in these 2 games at home.
And it felt like, Joel, that every time we were getting on the verge of hitting a run or we would hit 2 big shots and get a stop, boom, that next possession for Denver, they're going to the bread and butter, dog. The pick and roll with Murray and Joker. And that shit, no matter what, they got something out of it. What was it? A foul, a shot, a 3-point, whatever. They got something out of it. Now, whether they made all of those shots? No, of course not. They're fucking humans too, right? But if they go 40% from that and have 12 shots in those pick and roll situations, and they go 8 and make 8 or 6, that's a big difference. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the bread and butter, and that's what was hitting. Joker was literally making everything with such touch. Every time he touched the paint, he would make a weird one and lay it up, and that shit would just go whoop.
He's a machine. That guy's a machine, bro, and it's fascinating to see. And my boss, who's a big Celtics fan, and he's an older cat, so he was there for the Larry Bird prime, right? And he talks about how Jokic, he's like, man, where he reminds me a lot of Larry Bird. Larry Bird wasn't the most athletic guy on the court, but that guy had a nose for the hoop. You know what I mean? Like, he knew how to get the ball in the hoop.
Yeah.
And that's what Jokic, does. He does really well. But you talk about their supporting cast, man. This was the battle of the supporting cast, right? Because we know the superstars they have. We know we have a couple of guys that aren't maybe on their level, but can bang with those guys. And it was going to come down to the supporting cast, and their supporting cast outplayed ours, and I'm not going to call out our guys just yet, you know what I mean, from what we got from who and what we didn't get from who, but you got to give their guys props, man. You got to give guys like, Michael Porter Jr., 24-year-old who had some early injury issues to get into the league, and he had a presence down there, especially with the big body, made some big shots. Aaron Gordon, shout out to Aaron Gordon. I mean, it's good for that guy, man, after, the days in the Orlando Magic. Most players from the Magic never get to see that or make it to the big game, and, for him to rebound and on a Denver Nugget team and be a part of that.
Right.
He played really, really big. Contavious Caldwell-Pope had some good minutes for that. He wasn't a high scorer, but
Bruce Brown from the U.
Shout out Bruce Brown from the U, dog. He had some crazy, crazy moments, crazy dunks, and just kind of fast breakaway moments and stuff like that. Christian Brown, the white boy, the rookie sensation, he had some big minutes for those guys, man. All of their supporting cast executed when they needed to.
Yeah, especially in game 5, right, where we lose 94-89, which, dog, that's the game that's gonna kill us as Heat fans, right? Because we were in that game, dog. And not only in it, Joel, with a real possibility of winning that game. And if we win that game, God knows what happens to the rest of the series, right? Because now theoretically you're coming back home to at least play game 6. And now you're on your home floor, and you should be able to break the losing streak that you were on. In their last 4 games at home, the Heat have been 0-4. That's 2 against Celtics, 2 against Denver. And we were 6-0 on our home floor before that. So something had to change in that dynamic. And us not being able to defend home court really did us in. And it even did us in the Denver series because of the Celtics series. Had we closed that game in 5, right, at home, boom, hey, let's win game 5 at home. We got time now to rest, just like Denver did, prepare ourselves, get everybody a little bit more healthy, and now go into NBA Finals with a possibility of having Tyler Hero come in, right, and change things up off of the bench. we didn't get that opportunity because we didn't close out the Celtics. By not closing out the Celtics, we go into facing a very healthy and on fire Denver team, and us coming in kind of a little bit battered because we just went through a 7-game, war when we shouldn't have been in that war. So those games are always going to come back and haunt us. And Game 5, man, the guys showed up. Joker showed up. 28 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists. Did big boy things, dog. And nobody on our team had more than 25 points, or 22 points even for that. Jimmy Butler had 21, 9 of 11 from the free throw. Finally started getting some of that, even though 3 of those were from that 3-point shot in the fourth quarter.
Which was a questionable call. I will say this. Game 5's officiating was a mess. It was probably bad. The worst that we've seen in the postseason. It was all over the place. And I don't mean that in the sense that they missed calls for the Heat. No, it was just all over the place for both teams. Like, it was weird, and then the makeup calls that they were doing were egregious. It was like, well, what are we doing here? Why aren't we calling fouls? Why are we calling certain fouls? Like, this is an NBA Finals deciding game. Like, so whatever. But anyways, bro, my biggest thing, man, for this series against the Nuggets, they were the better team. They are the better team. That's right. Why the outcome was what it was.
Right.
But I think that we could have shown a better display of competitiveness out there that we displayed in the first 3 rounds of the postseason, 4 if you count the play-in tournament, the one that we won to get into the playoffs, that we didn't display. And, we only had it in Game 2, and we kind of showed glimpses of it in Game 5, but the underlying, reason why we were not there, in my opinion, was Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Jimmy went from himmy, carrying the team on his back, things that he did against the Bucks that we were like, this is that dude. We were calling him greater than Dwayne Wade potentially if you came and went on to win this championship. And now he's left us with a taste in our mouth that's like, where's that bubble Jimmy, that left it all out there against the Lakers? You know what I mean? That had memes made about him leaving it all out there, putting the team on his back. I get that we needed to put more pieces around you then for you to help you out. But now this year, we didn't even get that out of you. And I don't know if that was a matter of what was going on off court. There was rumors and speculation about some, interpersonal matters that he's dealing with, or if it was just the pressure of the moment or being tired, from all the basketball we've already played. I don't know if it was a combination of all that stuff, but very underwhelming performance from Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. You're right. We didn't see the confident Jimmy in the finals. Because even in the Celtics series, right, we saw him step up and put games away, right, when he needed to and make it happen for us, right, in Game 7, which he played incredible, 28 points that game. But then 0 momentum with any type of firepower in Game 1, only scores 13 points. Game 2, we win. He scores 21, makes some clutch shots down in the fourth quarter, cool. And then the rest of the games, he scored. He had that 28-point game in Game 3, but it wasn't enough. And even still, he didn't do enough himself to make big shots when we needed to make shots in the second and third quarters, right? Not necessarily only at the end. And he felt like his presence on the attacking end was shrinking. Because there were so many times where I saw him driving to the hoop and immediately look for a pass, immediately look out, to make a move. Instead of initiating contact, trying to get these guys in foul trouble and us build off that momentum. And even still, I'm not saying it would have worked enough to beat Denver, because there were a bunch of times where we did get Joker in foul trouble, right? And we really didn't take advantage of those minutes, where we lost those minutes or it was pretty much even, right? So not necessarily that would have worked, but his aggression would have allowed him to get to the free throw line a lot more often in these games. There was only one game where he shot more than double-digit free throws. It was the last game. That was it. In all the other games, this guy was getting to the free throw line 12, 14, an average of 11, 12 times a game. That's a big deal, dog. You're slowing the plays down. You're taking guys into foul trouble. Now you're changing up the matchup in our favor. Like, a lot of things come from that, dog. And Jimmy wasn't there for that. And for people who were hating on Bam, right, and saying, Bam, we need you to step up.
We'll get to him.
He did his thing. So there's no way that you could look at this NBA Finals loss and be like, damn, Jimmy didn't have help.
No. That's not the question. That's not the question. We'll get to Bam. Let's put a pin on Bam because we're going to get to that one right now. But last closing remarks on Jimmy was, for me at least, questionable decision making for him.
For a fact.
You know, kind of like you were alluding to, you know, the indecision as far as what to do with the ball or like wanting to get rid of it. I mean, prime example, end of the game.
Yeah.
End of the game, he drives it into the lane, right into Jokic, and instead of just trying to go up and at least trying to draw contact, he throws a wild pass out that ends up getting stolen by Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and pretty much just seals the game.
Yep.
You know, and then besides that, he was absent, man. If it wasn't for those 3-3-pointers that he shot, that he got hot at the end, he made one, then he made another, then he went up for the third that he got fouled on.
Right.
If he doesn't do that, those 9 points in the last, 2-3 minutes or whatever, Jimmy puts up 12, 13 points in a deciding NBA Finals game. I mean, that's not what you want to see from the guy that's put the team on his back for the last 3 years, the guy that's gotten you there, the guy that has been clutch time in and time out, has hit big shots for you, and it's like this is the second opportunity you got, and this is what you did with it. You kind of squandered it, in my opinion.
1,000%. We were leading going into the fourth quarter, Joel. And up until that point, right, we're up 71-70, heading into the fourth, and up until that point, Jimmy Butler was 2 of 12, 2 of 13.
Yes, correct.
So the Heat are winning the game, right, in spite of Jimmy playing horrendous on offense, right? So when you look at that, you're like, hell yeah, we squandered an opportunity, and it's mainly because of Jimmy. We can burn Struz, Vincent, all these other guys. We can burn these guys for sure for their performances because they weren't great, or at least to the level that they were showing in the playoff run, right?
Sure.
But the main guy is Jimmy.
Yeah.
When we need to get big buckets, it should come from Jimmy. And those are games, especially an elimination game on the road, those are games where your star has to show up for you. You can lose the game, but he has to show up for you. And you can't just leave it on Bam to come out here and put up the offensive firepower on this team. Just felt like he let us down.
It did.
And it's tough to even say that, and it sounds stupid, dog, because of the amazing run that we had in the playoffs.
And we wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Jimmy.
But if we're looking at it from a one-game standpoint, not taking into consideration anything else, just by a game-by-game analysis, Jimmy was definitely not the leader. He didn't play like the number one guy.
Let's pull the pin.
Okay.
Remember, put that pin up there. Let's pull the pin.
Okay.
I told you this before the show, and I firmly believe it. If the Heat would have won this series, we would have gone on to win it. All things remain the same. Our finals MVP for the Miami Heat is not number 22.
Nope.
It's Bam Adebayo. Bam played beyond, not beyond. I won't say beyond. Bam played to our expectation of him.
Bingo.
This NBA Finals. He played defense on every position. He played big minutes a lot. He got barely any rest. And we got offensive production from the guy. Was it sloppy at times? Yeah, sure. Were there some frustrating moments where it's like, damn, Bam, why are you doing that? You're always going to get those. But when you weigh it all out, he was our best player in this series, hands down.
Our most consistent player, showed up every single time and did his best offensively to help Jimmy get buckets. Right? Help Jimmy get buckets. Help Jimmy get a better advantage on offense. Help Jimmy, kind of unload the pressure off of him. Bam did that this series. Was he super efficient? No. But then again, you got to look at the matchup that he's going up against. He's going up against like Jokic, the MVP, or should be MVP. Well, he was finals MVP, but he should have been the NBA regular season MVP as well. This guy is a big body. Not necessarily the greatest defensive center ever, but dog, Bam is giving up 4 inches, 3 inches to this guy and another 80 pounds almost, right? And Bam still did well, dog. Put up 20 points in almost every game.
Yep.
Was in the rebounding game, double every time. So he met our expectations and probably even exceeded it because people doubted that he can do so again. And he did it. He definitely did it.
At the highest level.
Yeah. Against the hardest competition.
Yeah. So you're happy with him. You know what I mean? Like we're happy with him. Now, besides Jimmy can't take all of the blame. 2 other people that I gotta, point at and say, you kind of let me down a little bit, but you know what I mean? I'm not gonna forget everything you did prior to this. 2 people in particular for me.
Who's that?
Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent.
Yeah.
For Gabe Vincent, he got bullied, dog.
Yeah,
The kid got
he
bullied.
got abused. He got abused.
He got abused this series by everybody.
And he was off.
Well, it's not just that, man. I mean, you're getting dogged. You know, you got so much size around you. You know, you can't really get your plays off, your finesse shots and shit like that. You're, in rhythm. And then on defense, like, you can't stop anybody. Everybody's way bigger than you. You can't get a stop.
Yeah.
And they're just going at you over and over and over again. That's just demoralizing, dog. And then Caleb Martin, I know he was dealing with, I think he was sick. He was dealing with some flu-like symptoms game 3 and 4. And he was a big proponent of our hustle guy, like out-rebounding people. You know what I mean? Getting in there for the hustle plays, getting the offensive rebound, second chances.
I think he did that, though.
We were not really, when you look
not
at
the same level.
Exactly, dog. And then when you count Jimmy not being at where he needed to be, we need more, not less of that Caleb Martin and that Gabe Vincent. And we were getting less of both of them, which
I get it. But in my eyes, right? Yes, you can ask that of these guys. But what's the realistic probability of those guys giving it to you? You know what I mean? There's a reason why those guys are our 4th, 5th option, 3rd. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. We can ask those guys to step up more. Kevin Love, right? Do the most that you can with your minutes. But some guys aren't going to be able to do that as consistently. And those guys picked a bad time to be off. Strus picked a really bad time to be off in this series.
Strus, I didn't mention if you noticed.
He deserves blame too, dog.
And the reason I don't, bro, is because Strus, defensively on the two-way side, did a better job. He did more of those hustle plays.
Joel.
And, bro, there's so many times where I see that kid get fouled, bro, and they never call it, bro.
I guess, dog, but that doesn't help him with the rest of his shooting. I get that.
He struggles shooting.
No, Joel. He put up 0 points in multiple games, dog.
I know, dog.
That's not a good thing.
No, I know that's not good for nobody.
So it goes back to it with like the Gabe Vincent thing. Yeah, those guys are going to do heat culture shit, which is play defense, right? They're not going to be a minus on the defensive unless the matchup size is definitely out of their way physically. And Jamal Murray is a bigger guard. So if they do that swing, he's going to be bigger. Even Bruce Brown, Christian Brown too. Both big guards, right? Both big wing type players. So I get it. They're going to be in disadvantages. But to expect so much of them is kind of like a little bit too much, in my opinion. Because again, if it's that Jimmy's doing his thing and we need the difference makers, then yeah, we need our difference makers to step up.
But that's you saying that now in retrospect, dog. Going into this series with the performances these guys had and the storyline around these undrafted players, and how high level they were performing, dog.
Joel,
it's an issue, bro. It's an issue. It's part. Yes. It's part. It's not. I'm not solely blaming these 2 individuals or 3 individuals. It's a collective of all those guys not clicking, like you said, choosing the worst times
to step up,
to not step up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but it kind of leads us into the future, right?
Yeah, and we got to figure that out. We got to figure that out
because I'm sorry to cut you off, but because those guys that we're discussing, right, that are the role players on here, we got to make some hardcore decisions about these guys in the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of days, because the draft is next week, and then after that, free agency opens up in the NBA. So, we're going to have a vision of who are we going to keep from this squad and who are we going to move forward, right? Because, bro, hey, Jimmy Butler, all you want for this series, but he still got us here. So, that guy's coming back next year. He's our best player. He's our leader, right? We know what the hell we can expect from Bam moving forward. And we know that Bam is gradually going to keep getting better and keep getting better. His field goal percentage is going to increase as he gets more comfortable with hitting those shots, which he hit a ton of in this series. Who else stays? Does Jimmy stay? Does Lowry stay? Do we sign and trade for that package deal for somebody? Who do we bring in? What type of position do we bring in? Who else is available? Do we try to re-sign Gabe? There's a ton of questions, right? Even Highsmith. Yurts, what do we do with those guys? Do we bring them back? Do we try to give these guys more minutes? Ton of questions leading into this. And not to mention, the Heat are in a really good spot because this is the first summer I think that they're going to be able to use their future first-round draft picks, which we have 4 of, I believe. And we also have the 18th pick in the NBA draft, which is pretty good, really good actually for a team that just went to the NBA Finals. So very interesting how many different ways that he can go about this business. But one thing is for sure, those guys that we're talking about, we're going to have to make a hard decision and say we got to either move this way or the other way. But to expect this team as constructed to make another run like this is really tough to say, because all truths be told, Jimmy Butler's window is closing. It's closing fast. We've already made 2 NBA Finals run with this guy. So how many more do we have in the books? How close can we get there? Now, there's been some rumors that the Heat are interested in a lot of point guards, right, or a lot of shooting guards that are named Damian Lillard, right? Other guys, Kyrie Irving has been popping up. Bradley Beal's another guy who's working with Washington to kind of find a suitable trade partner. He's the only guy in the NBA, as a matter of fact, that has a no trade clause, which is wild.
Who's that? Beal?
Bradley Beal, dog. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, but the Heat know they got to make moves because of Jimmy Butler. And not necessarily that Bam can be your second best player, but if Bam's your second best player, then your 3 through 8 guys need to be really good as well and really consistent, because Bam's not going to be able to give you more than, what? He didn't really hit 30 points this series, so he's never going to be a 30-point scorer. The most you could hope for that guy is for him to hit between 20 to 24 and hit him at a 50%, 55% clip.
Unless we were able to get an actual true big man
to
play the 5, and then Bam can play the 4 and play more of a boss role, where he's not having to bang down low, be the 5. We can have somebody else do that for him.
Be like on the elbow and shit.
Could happen. So, yeah, bro. We got some things to consider for next year. Jimmy's 33. He's not getting any younger.
Nope.
Bam,
he's making big money.
Yeah, next year he's owed $45 million. Besides him, Bam's 25. We got him under contract. He's good. So we know, boom, 1 and 2 are good to go. Kyle Lowry, last year of his deal. He's owed $30 million next year.
Yeah. Expiring contract is a very, good asset to have for a trade.
Do we bring back a 37-year-old who, and that's what I wanted to talk about him before we jumped into the future of the Heat, but it's perfect segue.
It's part of it.
Lowry, we gave a lot of shit to. I've given a lot of shit to on this podcast, over the last couple years. And he's kind of redeemed himself in my book slightly over this last playoff run, man. Just kind of showing what we wanted and expected of him the last 2 seasons, especially last postseason, as far as what you were arguing for, which is like a floor general, a commander, somebody that in big moments knows what to do, can play big, sacrifice his body, yada, yada, yada. And, dude, we saw him at being one of the smallest guys in the courts, D'ing up some of the biggest guys out there.
He had a big tip back to Bam for Jimmy to hit a 3.
And he had some big minutes, man. So, do we just ride it out for one more year? It's already on the books anyways. Or do we use that, like you said, for trade? You got Duncan Robinson, $18 million next year. He's 29. Oladipo, $9 million left on his contract for next year, 31 years old. He's out of here. I know that. I can almost count on that.
Yeah.
Oladipo's not coming back.
He has a player option, so he's going to opt in, but we're going to definitely try to move him.
Caleb Martin, $6 million next year, 27 years old.
He's here.
He's staying here. He's not going nowhere unless, again, we trade him as a piece. But I think he serves as a good role player for us for a good price. Tyler Hero Tyler Hero's 23, owed $27 million next year. Next couple of years after that, we're tied up through 2027. That could be a possible trade piece right there. And then we got the other 2 guys tied up for money next year are Nikola Jovic and Haywood Highsmith.
Both are keepers.
We're not getting rid of those guys just because of the deal we're getting on those guys. But,
correct.
I mean, you look at Kevin Love was on a 1-year deal. UD's retiring.
Strus on a 1-year deal.
We got to figure out what we're going to do with Strus now. Gabe Vincent, do we re-sign? I think those are the 2 big question marks is Strus and Gabe Vincent. Because we're not gonna see Cody Zeller next year and none of that. So
hell no.
I think those are the 2 main ones right there, dog. Is Strus and Gabe Vincent. What do we do with those guys?
I think, bro. If I'm speaking honestly, in my opinion, I think you got to think about not getting either one of those guys and seeing if you can get a little bit younger in that position. Right, a little bit younger. Not that Strus and
both 27.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Not that they're old, but like again, they've probably reached their peak with us. You got to remember, they've been us with a minimum for 2 years already. So I'm kind of figuring that you have to look at moving on from those guys first, right? But a lot of that depends on who we're able to trade for. like I mentioned earlier, we have some options. There's some real options being made available to the Heat. And if you're listening to all these podcasts, including this one, that talk about players being dealt, you're going to hear Damian Lillard's name. You're going to hear Bradley Beal. You're going to hear Kyrie Irving. You're going to hear those names being thrown around with the Heat because the Heat are looking for that. And, you know, Shams came out and had that report that the Heat looked into Kyrie Irving around the trade deadline this year. We had talked about that, and not necessarily that being the rumor, but just the possibility of the Heat being in for him. And at the time, it was like, well, maybe we don't really need a player like him. But it's obvious that we need a offensive talent to match whatever Jimmy brings or lacks in offense, right? I just know that the Heat are in a good position. Do I know who they're leaning towards? I'm pretty sure they're leaning towards Damian Lillard. Yeah, he's not a spring chicken, right? He's up there, but I feel like he has big game experience. He's hit big game shots, right, to put his team into another round, to finish off a game 5 in his house in Portland or whatever. He's hit big shots consistently in the playoffs. I feel like Bradley Beal maybe doesn't have that experience, right? So maybe it doesn't work. And again, the team is built, or at least has a foundation that's good enough to get you to the finals. So you got to kind of have that foresight of what is your competition going to be, and how does that position that you're getting help you win that? We definitely need that point guard. Maybe we try to move Lowry. Maybe if we get Damon, you don't have to worry about re-signing a Strus or a Vincent. You can find another guy or bring up a kid, right? He have options, dog. Good options. I think a lot of what's going to be decided with those in-between guys, right? Who stays, who goes, because even Duncan's on the block too, right? We didn't really mention him, but that's a guy who signed at 18, 19, and 19 for the next 3 years. Maybe we try to move him too.
Yeah, I saw a rumored report, or somebody who I think was messing with, the salary cap trade calculator and all that stuff, and I think they had done a combination of Hero, Duncan, a pick for Beal or Damian Lillard.
Probably Lillard.
It was one of the two.
So yeah, that's those.
I think it was for Beal though, because I think for Lillard we would have to give up more.
And the reason why, because of his salary is through the roof, dog. That guy's making major bank. You know what I mean? But I feel like once we make the move, or who we end up with is gonna tell a lot, because that always has a domino effect. The rest of the free agents that are looking for a new home, that are just got out of a deal and probably chasing a championship, they're going to look at us and be like, I'm the backup to Damian Lillard? Yeah, put me in. I'm the backup to Jimmy Butler? Yeah, I'll take cheaper contract. Oh, I'm going to have minutes if I'm a center because we don't really have a center? I'm heading down to Miami to play with this group of guys. So NBA players want to be with guys who are good. They want to obviously, be on good teams. The Heat have shown consistently that we can be good at building teams, no matter what the circumstances are, whether we have money in free agency or we don't, whether we're hard cap paying the luxury tax or we're not. It doesn't matter. The Heat find ways to put together good competitive teams. So I don't expect nothing less for this season or this offseason because of the position that we're in, man. The Heat got a really good spot. So let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. All I know is that to kind of wrap up on the Heat and their season, I feel like they definitely superseded any expectations, right? They made another finals run, which was the best that we could absolutely hope for besides winning. So to go from a team that was struggling throughout the season, really finding a hard way to find some type of competitive basketball, to get into the wild card, lose your first game, and then make your way out of that and reach the finals. Yeah, you got to commend this team. You got to commend this run. It's going to be one of the greatest runs in Heat history when it goes down in the books,
Yeah, absolutely, man. Proud of this team. Definitely played with house money in this postseason. Sucks we didn't get, the ring, the championship, but we're knocking, man. We've been knocking.
We're there. We're definitely there, dog. So it's time to get to work, Andy and Spo. And Riley, let's figure it out. Let's improve this team. Same thing is going to be said about the Florida Panthers, dog.
Dog, it's funny. All I talked about for the last couple of weeks, is the parallels between the two teams.
Wild.
And holy shit, did they really mirror each other these last couple of weeks.
wild, son. Wild, son. And when we looked at it, right, when the finals were about to get started, we looked at both teams, the Heat and the Panthers, and we were like, man, the Panthers have probably a better shot, right? Because they have, Vegas is a good team, the best team from the West, obviously, throughout the season, and they played their ways through the playoffs. But the Panthers had so much momentum on their sides. They had beat big teams, overcome a bunch of obstacles, and were really dominating the teams that they were playing, right? Swept Carolina,
the Hurricanes.
The Hurricanes, 5 games against Tampa Bay, coming back in 7 games against Boston. So the Panthers were looking ready, battle-tested.
No, it wasn't Tampa Bay. It was the Maple Leafs.
Toronto Maple Leafs, And boom, Vegas showed up, dog, and whooped our asses, dog. Whooped our asses. I mean, in the first 2 games, they have outscored us 12-4.
No, yeah, it was a brutal ass whooping. Nah, man, Vegas, same deal, man. Vegas was just clearly the better team. If you don't know hockey, basically me, and you're watching that, you're going, no, that team is just clearly better. Clearly better, beginning to end. You know what I mean? Like, their goal scorers were just far better. Getting better opportunities, even shorthanded goals and shit like that they had throughout the series, like, just shows like how good those guys were. And their goalie is elite, man. We thought we had a great goalie, man. No, no disrespect, Big Bob, you did your thing. Not this series so much, but Hill, man, that kid.
Aiden Hill is
a beast, bro. That kid is an elite goalie.
Elite. Dog.
Killed us, dog. It killed us. That kid did not let anything past him, bro.
No, he really didn't, dog. And look, in these games, dog, defense wins the championships, and Golden Knights defense was way better than the Panthers defense, And when you look at the one game that the Panthers did win, which was at home, game 3, right? We won that game in overtime, like the cardiac cats do, and it was a comeback. And the Panthers struggled to come back in that game. Every game for Golden Knights, except for that game, was an offensive juggernaut. Where they were getting tons of shot on our goalie, tons of opportunities in front of the crease.
Where we were pulling our goalie in the second period.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, bro, look, they had 12 plus 12, 24, 27 goals in 5 games.
Crazy. Well, I mean, a lot of that was game 5, the closeout game.
Yeah.
Bloodbath,
dog. And again, like I said, in that game 3 win, which was the first win ever in the Stanley Cups for the Panthers.
We got one, dog.
We got one. We wrote it down in the history books. We got one. And it's so fitting that the guy who really made the difference for the Panthers this entire year scored the game winner, and that's Matthew Tkachuk. That guy has been such an incredible player for the Panthers, dog. And the impact that he's had on the squad, and the city of Sunrise, bro, because of him, that stadium started to get filled out more and more heading into the playoffs. And every single playoff game was rowdy. Like, you could hear these guys cheering. You can hear the Panthers fans really getting behind the team. And a lot of that has to do with how they were playing. And Matthew Tkachuk was their leader, dog.
Yeah.
And that guy really stepped it up, especially in that game. And he was playing hurt, dog, because he took a mean check in game 2. And you could tell that he was hurt. He got off the ice, dog. For a hockey player to leave the ice and leave the bench.
And it was questionable whether he was going to return.
You know what I'm saying? And the guy still came back and finished the game. Yeah. But you could tell that he was off.
No, and he was hurt the entire series. I mean, after game 3, game 4 and 5, he missed game 5.
Yep.
He didn't even play.
Fractured sternum, dog.
Didn't even play game 5. We talk about backs against the wall, 3-1 down 3-1, and our best player, our Jimmy Butler, on the ice is not going to be there for the entirety of the game. I mean, we knew it wasn't going to be good. We just didn't know it was going to be this bad.
No, for sure. And you know what? I think it's not fair to equate him to Jimmy Butler, dog, because Tkachuk showed up these playoffs. Way more than Jimmy, and even in the finals, dog. Like I said, he's playing with a fractured sternum. They didn't really release that until game 5 when he missed the game.
Right.
But since game 2, when he took that big hit, playing with a fractured sternum won game 3. We lost game 4, right? But he still was playing in game 4 at home.
But come on, don't disrespect Jimmy. We know he's still been that dude for us.
Yeah. But Matthew Tkachuk is that dude.
Matthew Tkachuk is hockey tough, bro. Hockey players are just that
way
much tougher.
different, dog.
It's
way
a different breed,
different,
bro.
Way different.
Yeah, bro. Chucky. I mean, you know, Chucky. I don't know. I don't even know if he's 100%. If we have enough, bro. Like those Marshall, Stone, their captain. What's this other guys? Bro, they had killers, bro. Killers, bro. I didn't know any of these guys, bro. And by the end of the series, I knew all of their names because they all kept scoring goals and getting their name, you know, thrown on the screen. I'm like, yeah, there goes another one for this guy, bro. This guy had a hat trick, bro, in the third game. Or in game 5, I should say.
Yep.
And then one of them was an empty netter that he had 3 or 4 opportunities at. But
hit that post like 14 times,
bro. A hat trick in a Stanley Cup final game, my friend. That is embarrassing.
No. It was rough. It was rough to watch, man. And you know what? Again, you gotta tip your hat to them. You got to tip your hat to them because the Panthers try to out-physical them in all those games.
Game 4 and the game 4 ended in a brawl.
Yeah, in a complete brawl, dog.
That was pretty cool.
And game 5 too, almost, dog. Right?
Game 5 was a little more civil, but game 4 at the end, as soon as it ended, bro, boom, it was on. That scene in the replacements where you call hike and they all go after somebody, whoop their ass. That was what it was.
Yeah, and look, you know what? Certain guys showed up. Barkov showed up this playoff series. He showed up. Gudas showed up this playoff series. So even Verhaeghe, right? He kind of slowed down a little bit.
He slowed down a little bit. He slowed down a little bit. More of that offensive power from him.
1,000%. 1,000%. Benner didn't really pop off. Reinhart didn't really. They had goals, but they didn't really pop off and really were like feeding off of Chucky's energy, right? So, yeah, man, it wasn't enough of a team effort as far as the offensive side was. But it felt like both our teams, the Heat and the Panthers, kind of regressed as they got to the finals. Yeah. And I don't know, and we can point out a lot of things for the Panthers, but they just didn't have it. And it's tough to blame Barkey, dog, because Big Bob is playing against facing 40, 50 shots from a very powerful offensive team.
You meant Big Bob.
Big Bob.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah. That's another one right there, man. It's easy to go and blame the goalie. Like, damn, he's going to let up all those goals. But, you know, they
blocked that guy. But
they found a weakness, and credit to them. They exploited it. You know, they found Big Bob's weakness being anything above the shoulder pads.
Yep.
You know, and look at all the majority of their goals was all up here. You know, and that's gonna lead us, you know, into next season. You know, to see, you know we got to get better in that regard. But yeah, when our defense is breaking down, when we're we're on one side, and all of a sudden it breaks down, and then it's a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 fast break, and they're scoring on those multiple times, multiple occasions. It's like, dog.
I mean, that's how Game 5 started.
Yeah, bro.
That's how Game 5 started.
Just quick,
down 2-0 out of nowhere, and you're like, well. This was a good season, Panthers. Let's see if we can make it. We came back, scored that one goal, and then Las Vegas responded by putting up the next 4 goals in that period.
Did you see our first goal in Game 4?
Yeah. I think it was like a deflection or something like that.
It was one of the wildest goals I've ever seen in hockey.
Yeah.
Well, that's how much like we needed like help that night, like the Angels in the outfield type shit. Yeah, bro. I forgot who it was that shot it, if it was Reinhart maybe or Verhaeghe, but he shoots the puck.
Yeah.
Ricochets off of one Vegas Knights defender's skate, hits another defender's skate, and ricochets into the net for our first goal.
Yeah.
That's how that game went. And I think that game we were down like 4-0 quick or something like that in that game. Sure. 3-0. I think it was 3-0. We went down quick.
It was already a losing effort.
And then boom, boom, we got that goal. We got another goal, but it was just too far to reach, man. The Knights just kind of did the same thing the Nuggets did, and they just kind of set the pace early on in games, and they never looked back.
No, they didn't, dog. And we lost at trying to play their game. We try to out-physical those guys. We try to, be the tougher guys in the ice and all that shit, and it didn't work. It did not work. All it did was give us more penalties, which they took advantage of almost every single time. Yeah. That's another thing, man. The Panthers were killing it in the playoffs all of this entire run, and then, boom, faced the Knights, and it felt like the Knights' defense was better, where they had 5 guys on the ice. They were able to stop our shots and get in the way of a bunch of them.
Couldn't capitalize on power plays. It was reminiscent to last year.
Yeah.
It was brutal, man. It was like, really brutal. It was just frustrating to watch this series, man. It was like, come on, we're better than this. We showed that we're better than this. But On to the next season, dog, for these cats. The one thing I will say, is shout out to Maurice, Coach Maurice, because he
deserves a lot of respect.
We had some questions about him early on in the season, and I think he proved, he is the right leader for this this ensemble here.
Yeah, for sure. He dealt with a lot of adversity this year from both the media and, maybe a couple of guys on the team. One thing's for sure, the front office, Zito and company, they definitely had his back the entire time. And his experience paid off in the end, right? We were able to come back and make a historic run on Boston. You go into your next series against the Toronto Maple Leafs, beat them in 5 games, and then you go on in order to win your second Eastern Conference Finals ever as a franchise. You sweep the Carolina Hurricanes, an ex-rival. So, yeah, it's a big credit to Coach Maurice sticking to his guns, right? Sticking to the program, making sure the guys bought in, and they really did buy in, and that's how they were able to make the finals, but also make history for themselves in the finals. Getting that victory is going to do a lot of good things for this franchise, though, because now they got a taste of what the finals is and what it is to host a Stanley Cup finals, right? And how can they improve the environment for the fans, and how can we improve the team? What's the next level to do it again and reach it? Now there's a clear direction of where they have to go. It's not going to be a lot of questions. Because the core is good, really good. And yes, you can probably do the same thing like we were talking about with the Heat, where they find guys who are just a little bit more consistent. Now, we don't know a lot of the contract negotiations that are left. We're going to be catching up on that, especially with the NHL draft and stuff. So, again, we're just going to be looking forward to what type of moves are made in order to improve the team. Because, again, the GM, Zito, he's done a great job of making moves and having them work out. Example and prime example, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the rest of the letters is Matthew Tkachuk. He came in, really put his foot in the ground and said, guys, this is how we're going to play. Let's all follow Barkey, who's our leader. And if you need anything else, I'm walking down the line for us first. And he showed up every single game, was our leading scorer on the year, leading assists, most points, carried the team in the playoffs, had big clutch goals. Okay, made the Panthers 4-0 in overtime games. Like, they really stepped it up another notch because of Matthew Tkachuk. So, I'm confident in this franchise doing the right move again and getting another player who can add to the team and make another run, dog. Why not?
Hell yeah.
Why not, man?
Oh, yeah, man. Go Panthers, man.
Go Panthers. Great season.
Great season, boys.
Great season. And a very similar team like the Heat, Couldn't really find consistency throughout the season. Bonded by going through that adversity and really taking off in the playoffs when it matters the most, man. So shout out to the Panthers. What a great season. We got to shout out another team down here that's been not getting our full attention, even though they kind of deserve it. It's the Miami Marlins. Second in the NL East. Currently, 37-31 right now?
Yes, sir. You got it after suffering a loss last night.
Yep.
They're out on the West Coast on a road trip right now. But, yeah, man, it's after what we've been going through here, these highs of highs and now these lows of lows, and it's all just kind of come to an end. Normally this time of year, we just have nothing to look forward to for the next 70 days or so until football gets started. But lo and behold, our fish, man, they're fighting. They're fighting for every game, man, and
killing it.
They're not just above 500. They're in second place in their division, in a real tough division. We're ahead of the Mets right now.
Yep.
We're ahead of the Phillies. I think we're only behind the Braves right now.
4 games,
right?
Yeah.
4 games behind the Braves,
currently,
which is it's a decent gap, but it's something that it's feasible. It's attainable.
Absolutely.
We can close that gap. So. This is very, very reassuring for a South Florida sports fan that has been, seeing nothing but winning for the last, 6 to 8 weeks or something like that.
True.
Even though we didn't see that the last 6 to 8 days. But we got a team that's in winning form. I mean, that's the Marlins.
Joel, we're in a spot for the wild card right now. If the season ended today, this Tuesday, we'd be in the playoffs as a wild card team. And we know that the Marlins usually get hot and make big runs in the playoffs.
But we know that the season doesn't end right now. There's
Bingo.
a lot of playoff left. A lot of playoff.
However, true. However, what we've seen is a steady improvement in this team from a consistency basis, right? They've been winning series and learning how to win series early on in the season. And then they dropped a couple, and it was like, well, we need to kind of get back to ourselves and really rely on the guys who are leading us. Right now, we have Jorge Soler with 19 home runs, third in the majors, which is crazy because that's the most home runs he's had in any season so far in the last 2 years, except for when he hit 48 in 2019. So you got a guy who's back to form, back into a rhythm, hitting bombs, timely bombs. You got guys like Brian De La Cruz stepping up, really stepping up and being hot. In his last couple of games, he's been one of the most consistent hitters, hitting big home runs, driving in guys, and just finding a way to put the ball in play. Now, when we talk about who's really driving this force, and I'm going to bring a point up after we give him his props, it has to be the number one batter as far as averages go in the MLB by a long shot, and that's Luis Arraez. That dude has been incredible. The fact that this dude is even keeping that 400 average, Joel, through 60-something games, 66 games is crazy. You tell me he's hitting 400 and it's 30 games in, it's like, yo, that's impressive. That's impressive. And this guy's beyond impressive right now, dog. He's doing something very historical, dog. And I don't know if he's going to be able to keep it up. I really hope he does.
That's a question, right?
Right.
Last person to bat 400 was Chipper Jones in 08, I think.
Yeah, bro.
That's what I saw.
No. 400, it hasn't been done since...
Or to be at 400 through this short of time in the season.
Was Chipper Jones. And that guy was a beast.
Right.
So
it's good company to be with.
Hell yeah. And anytime you're in that type of talk, is just wild, dog. And just shows you that there is a lot of talent on this Marlins team. We've known that. We just needed it to show up consistently and really be a part of the offense. Like I said, when you have a team that has a good average between the first 5-6 hitters, not necessarily all the power in the world, not necessarily all the hits in the world, but just being in that average where guys are bringing each other in. That's what the Marlins have right now, and they're able to win games. Like I said, they went on a 6-game winning streak. Granted, they play some of the worst teams in the MLB right now, right? Which was Seattle. They also played the White Sox. That was Kansas City. They played Oakland. They're not the best of teams in the MLB. I'll give them that, but they're still taking advantage in winning those games. They're still taking advantage in winning those series, which is what we really wanted for them in the beginning of the year when you and I were talking about them. Hey, be competitive, be in the hunt, be exciting, and be a team that we can watch and want to go spend a beer fest or something like that, a Dominican Heritage Night, a Puerto Rican, a Cuban Heritage Night, and people go out there and have a good time. And that's exactly what we're getting from this Marlins team, dog. And a lot of people really didn't expect that.
No, I mean, we never know what to expect, until they prove to us this is what the expectation is, right? Kind of like the Heat, kind of like the Panthers, kind of like the Dolphins now. The Marlins have, led us to believe that don't fall in love with anybody because as soon as they get good, they're gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, fool me once, shame on you, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think we are trying to build something now, something true, something real here. And the beautiful thing is, we're watching it develop right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're seeing what's working and we're seeing what's not, and it's nice to see obviously the winning results, but even on some, some of the losses, there's good takeaways on those as far as like some individual accolades that people are doing. And it's nice to see that we haven't had that, dog. We haven't had that the last couple of years. We've had little pieces. We had Jazz. That's kind of been the main guy. Now there's other guys that are potentially going to outshine Jazz, especially with him being out, being injured, not playing. You know what I mean? Arraez, man. Luis Arraez is taking all the shine right now. That guy is our number one right now, and fans are ecstatic anytime they see that guy up to bat.
I mean, it's not only him. It's just, I think it's, like I said, the consistency between 1 through 5, 1 through 6, where that those guys are going to get hits and they're going to get hits to bring in people whenever they are presented with a chance. So we've seen Brian De La Cruz be clutch. We've seen Jorge Soler have big home runs. We've seen Luis Arraez show up every single game and be a guy who's on base. This guy's has a fucking .431 on base percentage. This guy's on fire, Joel. I told you last week, he's barely had games where he doesn't have a hit. Like, that's wild, 66 games into the season. And everything's been on the positive side for the Marlins because their lineup has been playing deep. Everybody's hitting. They're 10th in the MLB in average. They're 10th in the MLB with hits. and they're 22nd in home runs. So it's not the long ball. These guys are getting on base and
efficiency
and hitting singles, hitting doubles to bring the guys in. They're not expecting to load the bases up and boom, somebody clean it up. That's not what's happening with this Marlins team. So we're very efficient, like you said, and we're very good once we get on the bases. A lot of that helps our pitching because right now, yes, we have pitching that's been above 500, and those guys have had really good performances, but we're 6 games above 500 without our ace being our ace. Now, recently, he's been pitching better. In his last 2 outings, he's been doing really well. But his record is still, 2-5 on the season with a 4.75 ERA. Now, like I said, granted, he's been doing really good in his past couple of games. He's only had against Oakland, he gave up 5 runs. But his next outing, he was able to go up, only gave up 1 run on a home run and pitch 7 innings in order to get the win. Not to his level of pitching. He hasn't had double digits in his last 5 starts as far as strikeouts go. So he's not dominant right now. But it looks like he's getting back into the groove, which is a lot better than most of the guys that if he's in a groove, he's probably better than 60% of our staff. Imagine him being elite. He's obviously one of the best in the MLB. If the Marlins can keep up this pace offensively, meaning continue to be a team that, constructs runs, puts guys on bases, steals bases, brings in runs that way, then when the pitching does get it turned around, Jesus Luzardo has been great. Edward Cabrera has been great. Even though they both lost games against Seattle, they've been on a really good streak so far. And even Yuri Perez, we mentioned him on the last episode. He's been a guy who's been very helpful in the rotation, eating up a lot of innings, going 5 innings, striking out guys, and being a force coming up as a rookie into the big show.
He's our tallest player.
I didn't know that. How tall is he, bro?
6'8".
Jesus, dog. That's a small forward in the NBA.
Did you know he's also one of our youngest players?
He's 20 years old, dog.
He just turned 20 years old in April, dog.
He's a baby.
Wild. And he's pitching tonight against the Mariners. For those of you listening to this last night, you would already hear the result.
Yep. And I hope you guys watched the game because I'm pretty confident he's going to go out there and give a good performance.
It's a 9:40 game, Papa.
I'm staying up.
You are not staying up for that West Coast.
I'm going to text
Marlins midseason game. It's
I'm
not even a
text you
postseason
pictures.
game, bro.
No, I'm going to text you pictures. I know you'll be putting on your notifications at night. So when you wake up in the morning, you're going to see 7.
Do not disturb.
7 fucking messages from So, dog. Hey, Yuri Perez is looking great.
Yeah, hopefully, man. We need it after that loss last night against,
Yeah, we got to try to salvage the.
We got to bounce back.
Try to salvage the series, get 1 out there.
Yep.
The road trip has been a success so far. We won the series against Chicago. Even though we lost this series against Seattle, we've gotten some really good opportunities. And now we're going to head to Washington before we come back home to face Toronto and Pittsburgh. Pay attention to the Marlins because this is the team that's going to sneak into a lot of those conversations when it comes to the trade deadline, right? And who's a player, who's going to be a mover and a shaker. And we might just be able to get that big bat that can make a difference. Like I said, the Marlins have built that team as a team that doesn't need the home run ball because we haven't gotten it. But if you do add another home run bat to that,
it can't hurt.
It just makes the offense even better. And now you're talking about being a top 5 offense rather than a top 10 offense. And that'll be crazy. We just need the pitching to match that. We need our guys to go on a 2-3 game, winning streak or without a loss, at least get the no decision and continue to build on this season and win series. I love it. The fact that we're 6 games above 500 is amazing to me. Keep it up. Yeah. Keep it up, Marlins. Keep it up. I'm loving it, dog. I'm loving it. We got to get out there to a game, dog. Yeah, I'm going to put a guys' night out tonight for something. I got you on the side. We'll let everybody know on the side maybe. Let's wrap up with our favorite pastime, right? Golf. We got the U.S. Open coming up at the LA Country Club this week. And yeah, bro, pretty open. It's pretty open, the field. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a bloodbath. Oh. I mean, it hasn't been back at LA Country Club for 75 years. It's the first time that they host a major there. and it's a U.S. Open. So anything U.S. Open in the name. I mean, I saw one of the funniest videos come out this week from somebody just kind of making fun of the whole U.S. Open video or whatever. And he's just standing in like a field of like weeds that are like 6 feet tall. He's like, look how deep the rough is, and like he just drops the ball. He's like, you can't even see where it went.
Or the one that the ball rolls from the side.
He throws it on concrete and he's like, it's rolling for. He's like, look at the greens. It's like, because that's exactly what they do at U.S. Opens. They make the rough really, really long, 4, 5, 6 inches, and then the greens are fast and firm. So it's going to be a total bloodbath out there. I think for the last one, the PGA Championship, I said, I would see the winner in the double digits. That for sure ain't happening here. You're probably going to get like a 4,
5.
If that. It might be like 2, 3 under. So, but I mean, stacked field. It's the first major tournament after the whole Live PGA merger announcement, which is right now being
still
investigated.
Cloudy.
There's a lot of cloudy details and stuff being investigated right now by the U.S. Supreme Court and the Senate and all that good stuff. And yeah, we're gonna see what comes of that later on, but. Everybody's in the field. All your favorite guys: Scotty Scheffler, world number 1; John Rahm, current Masters champion; Brooks Koepka, PGA champion;
Victor Hovland,
recent crazy champion recently was the RBC
correct
Heritage. Dude, stacked field. I was trying to get all the elite players out there.
Okay.
That's a shot at Rory right there.
Big time. Well,
Rory's going through it right now, bro. That poor guy's going through it.
And this is a guy that's going through it, and I actually wanted to get your opinion on him because for me, John Rahm a couple of months ago was the guy, and we were talking about how he was going to be untouchable throughout this season and really go after Masters. And in these Masters or these big trophies, right? Not necessarily the Masters, but for these majors, he hasn't really been playing his best golf. There was that one where he didn't even really make it into the final round at a high level.
I was recently at the PGA Championship. Yeah. It was the second major.
And he's doing commentary and stuff,
Yeah, he was in the booth and stuff.
And that's a guy who kind of, in my opinion, looks like he's not on his best game right now heading into a major where he knows the rest of the field is probably playing a little bit better than him. What do you think about what's going on with John?
Nah, dude. John Rahm is arguably the best player in the world. I think because of the fact that he didn't have the performance that he wanted after the PGA Championship, it's probably locked in since then. And we're probably going to expect to see, a top-notch version of John Rahm in this tournament here.
Better than Brooks?
That's the other guy, man.
That's the question.
I think Brooks right now is in top form, and the fact that this could go. I mean, obviously it's cliche. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but it can go to one of two ways. Brooks can either roll over, have that hangover from the PGA Championship and just kind of like whatever, like he doesn't have his best performance or whatever,
right?
Or he doubles down. He's locked in and he's like, nah, dude, I'm winning a 3rd U.S. Open. I'm winning my 6th major here today. You know what I mean? Like that victory at the PGA Championship just looks so dominant, and he just looks like he can take them all down from here on out for the rest of the way. But it's gonna be a slugfest, man. There's a guy who is world number 1 right now who's saying, "What about me?" And that's Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah. And I was going to bring him up.
Dog. Scotty's always in the mix.
And I was going to bring him up because that's a guy who also hasn't necessarily been as great as he has shown, right, in this past season and even in these past tournaments. But he's always in that mix, like you said, top 20, top 15, makes a great, has a great last 2 days to put himself in the money and to put himself in the top 5 and make it a little bit close. But he hasn't been dominant, quote unquote. What do you think of this course for him? Is it something that he can take advantage of, being that he's a guy who doesn't necessarily have to worry about bombing things? He can play real directional golf and put himself in a real good position to get as many birdie attempts as possible. How do you think this is going to turn out for him in this weekend?
I think Scotty's he's a fairway finder, so that's the number one thing at a U.S. Open is you got to find the fairway.
Right.
If you're in the rough, you're stuck. But we've also seen him make some magic out of tricky situations and tricky lies, so that might play favorable to him. But you talk about the course itself and who can do well there. A guy like Max Homa has a course record 61 at a country club from his time in college.
That's wild. Well, that was a long time ago though.
Yes and no. I mean, you talk, who was it last year? Matt Fitzpatrick, U.S. Open at the Country Line, the country club at Brookline, Massachusetts. He played there and he won the U.S. Amateur there 8 years prior to that. Not too far off, dog.
No,
So you talk about, a guy like Max Homa who grew up in California, strives in California play, and has played there, shot a course record there. I mean, that might be a dark horse for the week. I don't know if that classifies as a dark horse, a guy like Max Homa, who's top 10 in the world.
Plus 2,200.
I wouldn't mind throwing some money at a guy like Max Homa to win this tournament.
Inside the top 10 at plus 2,200 as far as Vegas odds go.
For sure, he's pulling top 10. For sure.
So then now that we're here, right, let's do the dark horse and your favorite. You want me to go first with dark horse or you want to go first?
Go for it.
All right, I'm going to go first. My dark horse is going to be... I'm torn between Justin. He let me down last time. Or I'm going to go... I'm going to go with Justin.
Nah, I like DeChambeau better. As a dark horse.
You could take DeChambeau if you want.
No, I won't. I like them better for you because Justin has let you down. And you talk about a guy that hasn't been in form. Justin Thomas has not been in form.
But I'm wondering if
you want to make a side bet right here? I bet you Ricky Fowler does better than
Damn,
Justin Thomas this week.
I can't bet against my guy Ricky, dog.
I know Ricky Fowler does better than Justin Thomas this week. Dog. Let's just put that out there. All right, I want to see. I want to make a note of that.
But I want this to be a spot. Let it be known for the records. Ricky's my boy from Vegas. I'm not gonna be able to go against that guy.
I know.
But okay, that's my dark horse. I'm gonna go with Justin because I feel like he's fucking due, man.
All right. Well, then if that's the case, Max Homa's my dark horse. I'm going to say Max Homa. He's played there. He knows the course well. He's a California guy. Does well in California. That's going to be my dark horse.
Crazy that we didn't mention Tony Finau at all, and he's been playing crazy because he's been playing pretty good lately.
Nah.
He's been playing pretty good lately.
Nah, no offense, love you, Tony, but you're not my favorite or my dark horse going into this week.
Okay, my favorite for this week is going to be. I'm going to be the safe pick, and I'm going to say Jon Rahm. Because of those reasons that I said earlier, that he hasn't necessarily had his best rounds back to back at a consistent level like he'd like. I feel like this is something that's really going to drive him to perform this weekend on a very tough course that's traditionally hard for a lot of golfers. He's going to be able to step up and say, this is the one that I'm going to go after because I'm going to prove that I'm the best golfer this year on one of the hardest courses of the season. So that's why I'm picking Jon Rahm.
Bro, you can't go wrong, honestly, with the top three.
Yeah, you can. You really can.
Like, how can you pick between Jon Rahm, Scottie Scheffler, and Brooks Koepka, who are the top three guys going into this tournament?
If there was a world ranking, Brooks would probably be number one right now.
He'd be up there. He'd definitely be up there with his win at the PGA Championship. But
top three for sure.
It's hard for me to pick, man. With Brooks, he's firing on all cylinders right now, kind of, at the peak right now of his performance capabilities. Mm-hmm. Well rested, not having to play a bunch of tournaments in between and all that stuff. I can definitely see him going out having a great week. But I can also see Scottie Scheffler, going out and having a great week too. It's tough to pick, but I think I'm back in on Brooksy, man. I think I'm going to go with Brooksy to win this week, man. Just because I think I liked what I saw from him, especially after what he did in the Masters, coming up just short, letting that get away from him, capitalizing it in the PGA Championship. I think he's going to keep that running.
And you talk about fairway finders. When that guy's on, dog, he's hitting bombs that end up, 150 yards or less to the pin? So this guy hitting bombs and getting into the fairway where he can get a real good look at an approach shot and put himself in a position to consistently hit birdies in the either front nine or back nine. Tough.
If he finds fairways and that putter plays the way that it played, even if it's the PGA Championship, he can run away with it.
But we were talking about it, Joel. Like, what type of score is going to be able to win this tournament? A -4? A -5? So, in reality, you're looking at a lot of pars and limiting your bogeys.
Correct.
And maybe he doesn't necessarily have the putter on fire, but if he's putting for birdie on 60, 70% of the holes.
Yeah, missing the right spots. And play everything smart. Try to take advantage of the par fives, but par is your friend.
Yeah, definitely this weekend, man. It's gonna be great to watch. I know you're gonna be covering. Make sure you guys follow Miami Golf Bros because my dog's gonna be putting up content like motherfucker this weekend.
I'm a meme curator, a golf meme curator for the most part. So if you like good golf memes, holla at me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think it's that time, Joel.
It's about that time, dog. It's about that time to tell a friend.
To tell another friend.
To tell everybody that they know.
To tell one more friend that if you're mourning like we are about the Heat and the Panthers, they need to hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. They need to hit that notification button on the YouTube channel because they'll be able to grieve with us and have a good laugh and join us as we move forward on with the Marlins.
Hey.
Man.
And on to the Dolphins soon, baby.
Yes, sir. OnlyFans, make sure you guys are subscribed. I'm telling y'all don't want to miss it. Until next time,
Peace.